Furlough is back. As a business accountant, my team and I spent all day long helping business owners on their journey, and as you can imagine, it's been quite a difficult place for a lot of business owners during the coronavirus lockdowns. And as it's been announced now that on the 5th of November 2020, we will be going back into lockdown. I think most people are calling it lockdown 2.0. I kind of like that name, being a numbers guy. So unfortunately, what I don't like from a business point of view is, of course, as many owners are going to encounter, there are quite a lot of problems operating your business. And as a result, I've seen various things online. I think obviously we all know the health impact of what's going on, but it's been a difficult one for owners to navigate, especially as they've just started to get some sort of normal resemblance of a business back. So that is unfortunately where we are going to go. The one good piece of news throughout all of this is that the original or semi-original furlough scheme is returning. So we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper, but before we do, if you like this video, make sure to click the subscribe button below so you're notified whenever we release another video just like this one. So for those of you who are still around in business and survived through the original coronavirus lockdown, you'll have known very much about the furlough scheme, or to give it its official name, the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme. I found it quite interesting that even the government in their announcement on their website referred to it as the furlough scheme as well. So that's the normal name that most people know it by. Now that scheme paid for your employees' wages when you were shut down. You know, when you couldn't operate, the country got locked down, the government stepped in and said, we will pay the wages. Now, what happened was that scheme over the last few months, as we're now recording this in November, started to get worse and worse and worse, and was due to end on the 31st of October and move into something called the Job Support Scheme, which was nowhere near as good. The government realised that they still weren't quite where they wanted to be and went back and actually made the Job Support Scheme even better. In fact, we did a video on this, but we've not been able to release it because, as we're about to talk about, it's now been delayed. It was changed, so it was announced, it was changed, and now it's been delayed again. Now, that is good news because it wasn't particularly favourable for employers. And what we're seeing now is a return to more like the original furlough scheme. So you will pay your employees 80% of their wages. The government will fully fund that 80%. The only thing the employer has to pay is the employer's pension and the employer's national insurance contributions. And this does apply for directors of a limited company as well. And you can currently, if you've already been doing this, you might know they introduced some more flexible rules. So you could flexible furlough. So it meant what happened before didn't occur again. What happened before was you were either working or you weren't. And as a director of a limited company, for example, it was very difficult to be able to do that. You know, if you were, say, an electrician and you were waiting on a rare call out during lockdown, you technically couldn't pick it up because you had to be on furlough for, say, 3 weeks at a time. So it was a very difficult thing to do. This time around, you have got the flexible furlough rules, and there's more detailed guidance on that. I'll link them in the notes down below. So this does make the scheme much more usable, which I think if you're in one of those industries that say leisure, hospitalities, pubs, bars, restaurants, and you're literally going to have to shut your doors and you can't really do anything, then being able to furlough your staff is great for them and great for you. You can maintain them with a minimal cost. And for some people, if you're not paying your staff that amount because say they're part-time, those extra costs of employers' national insurance or pension contributions, you might not have to pay. And that's probably the same if you're a director of a limited company. The likelihood is you're on a small salary and the rest of it you're taking in dividends, so you're probably not going to pay too much, if any, national insurance or pension contributions on your salary. So there's a good use of it there. So consider that, look at the guidance, speak to your accountant and see what can be used in those circumstances. So that is good news. And as before, there'll be a cap on this. So there's an upper earnings cap of £2,500 a month that's out there. So if you have got these more expensive employees, they are capped. The employer can also still top it up. So before it was 80%, but quite a few employers chose, do you know what, we don't want to see our employees not be able to earn the money. So we'll make sure and we'll stretch our coffers to make up that 20%. And that is still possible under this scheme. So obviously if you've got the money, I think it's a great thing to be able to do. And what I think is really interesting this time around is that you can actually put employees on that haven't been previously furloughed. So one of the problems with the scheme before is it sort of got extended and moved around and changed, but you sort of had to have employees that had been existingly on your system or they've been on furlough before. But the current announcement says that's not the case. The employer doesn't have to have claimed furlough before and the employee doesn't have to have been on furlough before. And that's massive if you've recently started up. Means you're going to be able to access this as well. Now, at the time of recording this video, which is straight after the announcement or very close to the announcement, there is also a lot of conflicting information on the revenue site. They've managed to change quite a few bits on gov.uk, and it's in the announcement, which again I'll link down below, that says, look, you don't have to have claimed, they don't have to have been on furlough, but if you check on the eligibility checker on the government site, at the moment of recording this video, it still says you had to have been on furlough before, June, July, and those types of time frames. So, but it does say in the announcement that that's going to be the case, and that's what we're going to go with. We're going to hope that it's just a typo on the other site, although they have said generally with all this, they're going to make more guidance available soon. Which brings me to the next point you're going to ask, which is when do I get my money? So look, my employees need to be paid this week. Am I going to have to fund that? And the answer is realistically, yes, I think you are going to have to fund at least the first few weeks, if not the whole period, until you can get your payment. Under the current system, it's an online portal and you can apply for it almost in advance, so you can have it on payday. This particular one, they've not built the systems yet to handle it, so I think again will be a little bit of a wait. As we're recording this video, there is no set date, but they have said that that's the kind of feeling you're getting from all the docs that are coming out and the communication that's coming out, that it will be a portal, will be claimable, and you'll have to do what you did before with the flexible furlough. So you're going to have to record things like employee names, national insurance numbers, but most importantly, you're going to have to record their normal hours and the hours that they worked under that claim period so that they've got some data. So if you're a director of a limited company, for example, I think that's an important one to make a note of so that you've got that data to put into the claim. But as I said, the claim portal itself is not currently available in terms of the periods. And I think it's just due with the way it worked previously without getting too technical in it. There's different claim periods and different things to do, and that portal doesn't actually exist. So it should be coming very soon. The biggest issue with the piece that's actually quite exciting in that, we're saying that you can be a new employer, you could also have new employees that could be furloughed as of now. The problem with that is that you had to have submitted data. So it says they have to be on the payroll before the 30th of October. Well, fine, if your employee started on the 1st of October, check, that's it. The problem is that HM Revenue and Customs want you to have submitted your payroll data, so it's called an RTI submission, a real-time information submission, before 23:59 on the 30th of October. Now the law states that you need to do one of these RTI submissions, these sort of data. So you do your payroll and you click a button and off the report goes. And you have to do that on or before the payday. Now for a lot of people, if you're a smaller business, you might not have bothered doing your pay run on the Friday and you actually submitted it on Saturday the 31st. And if that's the case, my worry for you at the moment is that you won't be able to claim for these latest employees. As always, it's a changeable position. So you might end up in a place where they actually go back and knock it back a day by the time we've released this video, or it might not be as big a deal as I think it is. But for me, that's a big sticking point. When I read the guidance, I thought, you know what, there will be people that will have waited to the last minute. I know, funny enough, we actually did our payroll run all week and then remembered suddenly on Saturday we hadn't clicked the button because we were changing things late. So, if we've got, not that we're looking to furlough anybody, but if we were, then we might struggle to claim that. So it is a genuine concern of mine that that's the case. So just be careful and check. If you're worried you've added someone late, check with your accountant or your payroll provider if you use one to make sure when you actually submitted it, so you don't find out later down the line that it's a problem. So that's the one thing that is a little concern at the minute. And finally, one of the other quirks of the scheme, just to mention, is that they are back to back. So the old furlough scheme goes straight into the new furlough scheme. I think there was a concern that because the original end date was the 31st and the new lockdown measures don't actually happen until the 5th of November, that you wouldn't be able to claim on the scheme. But they've said, look, yes, we appreciate we need to write the law and make sure that that's all completely legal, but we're telling you in advance, effectively, you're going to be able to back it. So that, again, is sorted. So in practical terms, it should hopefully be relatively straightforward. You can get your people on furlough and hopefully you'll see yourself through this busy period. So that's it. That's everything I've got to tell you right now. As I say, I'll link some stuff down in the comments below. And as always, if this has been useful, please do share it with your networks, like and subscribe, and we'll give you as much information as we can as it happens. See you on the next one.